Clarity of purpose is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Most people go through life following instructions they never agreed to, living out expectations placed on them by others. Parents, schools, employers, or society. Without a clearly defined why, life becomes reactive, not proactive. Not proactive. You wake up each day responding to demands instead of creating direction. Purpose is not a motivational slogan. It is the compass that orients your time, energy, and decisions. Without it, you're merely drifting, no matter how fast you row. When people say they feel lost, it's rarely because they lack intelligence or opportunity. It's because they've disconnected from their deeper purpose. They're moving, but not anchored. They're busy, but they don't know why. This is what breeds burnout. Not just exhaustion, but a quiet despair. Purpose acts as a filter. It tells you what to say yes to and what to walk away from. Without that filter, everything feels urgent and nothing feels meaningful. Purpose gives weight to your suffering. Life is hard. That's guaranteed. What is guaranteed? But when you know why you're enduring hardship, you stop resenting it. You begin to understand that challenge and purpose are not enemies. They're allies. Purpose redeems pain. It transforms sacrifice into investment. With purpose, pain has direction. Without it, pain just feels like punishment. We often confuse goals with purpose. A goal is something you reach. Purpose is something you live. You can reach a goal and still feel empty. But when you're living out your purpose, even failure has dignity. Goals are targets. Purpose is trajectory. You can miss a target and still be going in the right direction if your purpose is intact. Purpose is not found in isolation. It's revealed through contribution. When you begin to serve something beyond yourself, an idea, a cause, a community, purpose surfaces. It speaks to you in moments of alignment. When what you're doing connects with who you are and what the world needs, that's when you feel fully alive. Purpose is discovered at the intersection of service and self-awareness. You don't create purpose out of thin air. You uncover it by listening closely to your frustrations, to your talents, to what breaks your heart, to what moves you deeply. These are the breadcrumbs. Follow them long enough and they'll lead you toward a deeper why. And once you find it, you must guard it relentlessly. Because everything in life, comfort, distraction, doubt, will try to steal it from you. Living with purpose is not always comfortable, but it is always clarifying. You'll lose people. You'll leave safe places. You'll make difficult choices. But you'll sleep with peace, knowing you're aligned with something that actually matters. People often want clarity before commitment. But the truth is clarity comes after commitment. You must move in the direction of your purpose even when the path is unclear. The danger isn't that people aim too high and miss. It's that they aim too low and hit. When you don't know your why, survival becomes the goal instead of growth. You play small, stay safe, and settle for less. But when your why is strong enough, you stop waiting for permission. You stop negotiating with fear. And you begin to realize that life's not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be intentional. Intensity is seductive. It promises rapid change, dramatic results, and instant recognition. But it often burns out just as quickly as it ignites. The truth is, most transformation doesn't come from singular acts of heroism or bursts of energy. It comes from small, deliberate, repeated efforts that accumulate over time. The consistency is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It builds trust with yourself and reliability in the world around you. When people chase intensity, they often fall into cycles of all or nothing behavior. They start a diet and follow it perfectly for 3 days. They commit to exercise and go all in for a week. They dive into a new habit or project with passion, only to abandon it once the enthusiasm fades. Intensity burns hot but rarely endures. It creates a dependence on motivation which is fleeting and unreliable. Consistency, on the other hand, is independent of mood. It shows up whether you feel like it or not. True growth comes from showing up regularly, even when the conditions aren't perfect. Especially when they aren't. That's when consistency becomes character. Anyone can act with intensity when things are exciting or new. But to keep showing up on the boring days, the hard days, the invisible days, that's where transformation happens. That's where strength is formed. Not just of body, but of mind and will. Consistency is how momentum is created. One small action, repeated often, gains compound interest. Whether it's reading 1 page a day, stretching for 5 minutes, journaling nightly, or taking a quiet walk, these habits don't seem impressive at first. But over time, they build internal architecture, a framework of discipline that outlasts chaos. Intensity tries to leap. Consistency builds a staircase. People underestimate how powerful small disciplines are because the results aren't immediate. There's no applause for brushing your teeth every day, but neglect it, and you'll pay a price. Likewise, showing up to your responsibilities daily might not get attention, but walk away from them for a week, and the effects compound negatively. Consistency protects you from the cost of inconsistency. It's a slow shield, but a strong one. Intensity often feeds the ego, while consistency feeds the soul. Intensity wants to be noticed. Consistency doesn't care. It's not performative. It's rooted in identity. The person who commits to being the type of person who shows up, rain or shine, doesn't need external validation. They are anchored by who they've chosen to be. That's internal security, not external performance. When life becomes unpredictable, the habits you've built through consistency become your anchor. They're what keep you grounded when everything else is moving. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Systems built through consistency outlast crises. They don't just keep you afloat, they guide you forward through fog. The world will always reward flashes of brilliance, but it respects the steady builder more. The person who keeps working the craft, keeps tending the relationships, keeps honoring their health and mind day after day. Those are the ones who carry true power. Because while intensity comes and goes, consistency makes sure you're still standing long after the spotlight fades. Growth is often portrayed as a solitary pursuit. Late nights alone, inner battles, silent breakthroughs. But the reality is, no one evolves in a vacuum. Isolation might offer moments of clarity, but it stunts progress when it becomes the norm. We are social beings, wired for interaction, and the friction of relationships is what sharpens our edges. You don't truly know your values, your flaws, your potential until they're mirrored back to you by other people. Community challenges your assumptions. It pushes you out of the echo chamber of your own thoughts. When you're isolated, your mind can deceive you, amplifying fears, reinforcing self-doubt, or inflating your ego. But when you engage with others who think differently, live differently, struggle differently, you're forced to question yourself, to adapt, to stretch. That discomfort is a breeding ground for development. Isolation breeds self-protection. You avoid vulnerability because there's no one around to witness it. But vulnerability is the very thing that drives connection. A connection is where real change begins. When someone sees your mess and doesn't flinch, when you're called out for your patterns with love, when your story is heard without judgment, you start to heal the parts of you that isolation keeps hidden. Being around people also introduces accountability. When you're left to your own devices, it's easy to let standards slip. No one's watching, so you cut corners, make excuses, delay action. But when you're part of a group, a team, a community with shared values, you're more likely to rise to the occasion. You begin to internalize that your presence matters, that your actions ripple outward, and that responsibility to others refines your discipline. Even your ideas grow stronger through collaboration. Innovation rarely happens in silence. Creativity feeds on exchange. Diverse perspectives, challenging feedback, unexpected questions. When you speak an idea out loud, it either stands on its own or it crumbles and rebuilds into something better. This process is unavailable in isolation. Dialogue, not monologue, accelerates learning. Isolation is comfortable because it feels safe, but it's deceptive. It shields you from rejection, yes, but it also deprives you of affirmation. It spares you embarrassment, but it also withholds encouragement. You stop risking, and when you stop risking, you stop growing. You begin to shrink into a smaller version of yourself, convinced that solitude is strength, when in truth it has quietly become fear. Relationships, even the hard ones, expose your blind spots. They point out inconsistencies between what you say and how you live. They frustrate you, sure, but they also refine you. You learn patience when someone tries it. You learn grace when someone fails you. You learn honesty when someone challenges your narrative. Growth doesn't come from escaping people. It comes from enduring and evolving through them. There is a kind of strength that only emerges when you're seen, known, and tested in the presence of others. You learn to integrate feedback, to stand your ground when necessary, and to let go when pride is no longer useful. In community, you shed the illusion of perfection and step into the reality of becoming. A process that isolation can never truly replicate your past, with all its complexities, triumphs, and traumas. is not meant to be a prison that dictates who you are allowed to become. Too often, people treat their history as a life sentence, believing that their former choices, mistakes, or circumstances permanently define them. But the past is not a verdict. It is a volume in your story, and one that can be used as a tool rather than a shackle. Circumstanken. If you carry your history like a weapon against yourself, it becomes a cage. But if you examine it, understand it, and learn from it, it becomes a compass every decision you've made. Good, bad, or indifferent. He shaped a layer of your identity. But identity is not fixed. It evolves with awareness, with reflection, with responsibility. The past offers data. It reveals patterns, unconscious behaviors, deep-seated fears. When you choose to engage with it deliberately, it becomes a rich source of insight into your motivations and vulnerabilities. This self-knowledge is not meant to anchor you to regret, but to liberate you through understanding. Some people fear revisiting the past because it holds pain they haven't processed. But unprocessed pain doesn't stay buried. It shows up in your relationships, your habits, your limitations. When you suppress it, you hand it quiet control over your present. The past must be faced not to relive it, but to break its unconscious hold over you. It's only by looking back with clarity, not judgment, that you gain the freedom to move forward with intention. There's also a false narrative that says your past disqualifies you. That once you've failed or been broken, you lose your right to evolve. This lie is corrosive. It keeps people stuck in shame, self-sabotage, or hiding. But your past is not evidence against your potential. In fact, your scars can become your greatest credentials. They prove resilience. They demonstrate transformation. They connect you to others who are still lost in what you've already walked through. Transformation doesn't mean erasing your history. It means reframing it. You don't need to pretend your past didn't happen. You need to understand how it shaped you and decide what you want to do with that shaping. It's the difference between dragging the past behind you like a weight and standing on it like a foundation. When you stand on it, your story becomes a message, a lesson, a form of service. Your past also provides contrast. Without knowing who you were, it's difficult to appreciate who you are becoming. Reflection gives context to your growth. You begin to notice the distance between old reactions and new ones, between what you tolerated then and what you no longer accept now. That awareness fuels gratitude, humility, and strength. It reminds you that change is possible because you've lived it yet. Using your past as a tool also means you must be willing to tell yourself the truth about it. Not the version that excuses everything or the version that blames everyone else, but the version that accepts your part with maturity. This isn't about shame. It's about responsibility. You can't rewrite what happened, but you can choose how to integrate it. Ownership is the hinge that turns the past from a source of pain into a source of power. Ultimately, your past can become a well of wisdom. It can sharpen your discernment, guide your boundaries, and deepen your empathy. But it can only do that if you stop seeing it as a curse and start seeing it as curriculum. You were not meant to be defined by your history. You were meant to grow from it. Certainty offers comfort, but curiosity leads to growth. When we cling too tightly to what we think we know, we close the door to what we might still need to learn. Certainty builds walls. Curiosity opens windows. The moment we decide we've arrived at all the right answers is the moment our intellectual and emotional expansion begins to decay. Curiosity, by contrast, keeps the mind open, and the heart humble. A curious person sees the unknown not as a threat, but as an invitation. Rather than being intimidated by ambiguity or difference, they are drawn to explore it. This mindset doesn't just apply to academic knowledge or innovation. It applies to how we approach people, beliefs, challenges, and even ourselves. Curiosity asks, what more can I understand here? While certainty insists, I already know enough. And in that insistence, the opportunity for insight evaporates. The world is not static. It is layered, evolving, and filled with complexity. Certainty can't keep up with that complexity. It tries to simplify things into black and white categories, but life demands a more nuanced engagement. Curiosity equips you with the flexibility to adapt, to inquire, to listen, and to revise. That adaptability is a form of intelligence, and more importantly, it's a form of humility. Relationships thrive on curiosity. When we think we already know who someone is, we stop seeing them clearly. We respond not to who they are in the moment, but to a fixed idea of them we've already formed. Curiosity allows us to meet people where they are, not where they used to be. It keeps us asking, observing, learning. It's the difference between stagnation and presence in our connections. Curiosity also strengthens resilience. In the face of difficulty, the curious person doesn't just ask, "Oh, why me?" but "What can I learn from this?" Certainty and suffering often leads to bitterness, believing that things are simply unfair or meaningless. But curiosity introduces a productive discomfort, one that invites us to dig deeper and expand our emotional capacity rather than contract into cynicism. Leaders, mentors, and creators who embrace curiosity often outperform those who rely solely on confidence or expertise. Because curiosity keeps them teachable. It fuels innovation, encourages feedback, and nurtures collaboration. It doesn't need to be right. It needs to keep evolving. And that evolution fosters environments of trust, creativity, and progress on a personal level. Curiosity also allows you to explore your inner world. It lets you examine your emotions without being overwhelmed by them, question your habits without judgment, and reflect on your desires without shame. Certainty tends to defend your ego. Curiosity seeks to understand your soul. That distinction is what makes curiosity not just intellectually powerful, but spiritually transformative. The irony is that the most secure people are often the most curious, not because they know everything, but because they've made peace with not knowing. They aren't threatened by complexity or discomfort. They are drawn toward it, trusting that the process of inquiry is more vital than any final answer. It is curiosity, not certainty, that carves the path to wisdom. Confidence is often mistaken as the starting point, but in truth, it is the result of courage repeated over time. Before you ever feel sure of yourself, you must first act while unsure. Confidence grows through the scar tissue of risk, trial, and persistence. It is courage that steps into the unknown without the guarantee of success. And it is that repeated act of stepping forward that forges genuine inner strength. Courage means doing it scared. It means showing up when you're not ready, not polished, and not certain of the outcome. There is a misconception that only the confident are capable, but it is the courageous who become capable through exposure, struggle, and effort. The first speech, the first step toward healing, the first attempt at something unfamiliar. All of these are acts of courage that shape the foundation for real confidence. Confidence looks composed, but courage feels raw. It's the moment your voice shakes while speaking the truth. It's choosing to walk away from what's easy because it's not right. It's pushing through the discomfort of being seen, judged, or misunderstood because something within you matters more than approval. Confidence may be the calm after the storm, but courage is what leads you through the storm. Courage is also required when failure is likely. Most people avoid challenges not because they lack ability, but because they dread embarrassment, rejection, or loss. Courage faces that potential and says, "I'll try anyway." When you try anyway, even if you fall, you collect data, you learn, you adapt. And slowly that fear loses its grip. Not because you've silenced it, but because you've stopped letting it dictate your direction. Courage is not a one-time event. It's a habit. It's not something you summon once in a crisis. It's a way of approaching life. It's a way of approaching life. Every time you speak up, try again, or admit vulnerability, you reinforce a pattern. That it's better to move imperfectly than to wait for perfect readiness. And over time, that repetition turns uncertainty into experience, and experience into confidence. Without courage, you stay trapped in potential. You may have ideas, dreams, or talents, but they remain dormant if you lack the will to act. Confidence never shows up first. It waits for courage to create the conditions where it can thrive. So the people we admire not only for their ability, but for their presence. They were not born confident. They made bold, shaky, unsteady moves until they earned their confidence. Courage also builds trust, not just with others, but with yourself. Every time you honor your internal promptings, even when they're uncomfortable or inconvenient, you send yourself a message. I can count on me. That's the beginning of self-respect. Confidence isn't about believing you're better than others. It's about believing you can handle what life throws at you. And that belief is built on the evidence that you've done it before. Most importantly, courage creates momentum. Confidence doesn't arrive in isolation. It's the natural byproduct of showing up again and again. So if you're waiting to feel ready, you're waiting for a result that only courage can produce. The moment you stop avoiding risk and start engaging with it, you begin building the very confidence you think you're missing. Integrity is the ultimate competitive advantage in a world where shortcuts are often glamorized and ethical lines are blurred in pursuit of success. Integrity stands out as a rare yet powerful trait. It is more than just honesty. It is about consistency, reliability, and standing by moral and ethical principles even when no one is watching. In both personal and professional spaces, integrity forms the bedrock of trust, a currency that holds more value than money, fame, or quick wins. Those who operate with integrity don't just win in the short term, they build reputations that endure. Businesses that prioritize integrity cultivate loyal customers and dedicated employees. Consumers today are more informed and value transparency. When a brand is consistent in its values, keeps its promises, and treats its customers fairly, it naturally earns trust. That trust translates into long-term customer relationships and brand advocacy. No marketing strategy can outperform the organic reach that comes from a loyal customer base built on integrity. Within organizations, integrity fosters a culture of accountability and mutual respect. When leadership demonstrates ethical behavior, it sets a standard that influences the entire team. Employees in such environments feel safe, valued, and inspired to perform at their best. Integrity in leadership leads to better decision-making because it eliminates fear, bias, and manipulation from the process. A transparent environment boosts morale and reduces internal conflict. In a competitive marketplace where skills and technology can often be replicated, integrity is something that cannot be easily copied. It becomes a unique differentiator. While others may resort to manipulation or deceit to get ahead, those who remain committed to doing what's right earn a kind of respect and credibility that is irreplaceable. Over time, integrity attracts the right partnerships, clients, and opportunities, those who align with your values and vision. Reputation, once damaged, is incredibly hard to rebuild. Operating with integrity is like protecting your personal or organizational brand from erosion. And people remember how you made them feel, how you handled adversity, and whether you stood by your word. When competitors fall due to unethical practices, those with integrity not only survive, they rise. Their consistent character becomes a beacon for others in uncertain or unstable times. Even in high-pressure environments where the stakes are high, integrity acts as a compass. It keeps individuals and teams grounded. While others may compromise their values for temporary gain, those who adhere to integrity remain focused on long-term success. They don't waste time covering lies or repairing broken trust. Instead, they channel their energy into authentic growth, real impact, and meaningful connections. From hiring decisions to leadership strategies, integrity affects every layer of growth. Candidates and employees are drawn to companies where ethics are not just talked about, but practiced. Investors feel safer placing their money in ventures led by principled individuals. Integrity is not just about doing the right thing. It's a catalyst for building ecosystems of trust that expand beyond business into community and culture. Integrity also builds resilience. When setbacks occur, and they always do, those with integrity bounce back faster. They have nothing to hide, nothing to cover up. They face failure head-on, learn from it, and move forward with even greater clarity. Their consistent character gives others confidence, creating stability in moments of chaos. That kind of emotional and reputational strength is what turns average players into long-term leaders. Perfection is often an illusion, an unattainable standard that holds people back from taking action, trying new things, or accepting themselves as they are. When we fixate on being perfect, we delay starting, we criticize ourselves harshly, and we fear failure so much that we avoid growth entirely. Progress, on the other hand, is real, tangible, and achievable. It allows space for mistakes, encourages learning, and values movement in the right direction, no matter how small. In personal development, aiming for progress means recognizing that transformation takes time. Whether you're building new habits, healing from the past, or striving to become more disciplined, you won't get everything right immediately. And that's okay. Every small step counts. Every setback holds a lesson. When we replace the need to be flawless with the desire to improve, we stay motivated and open to growth. In education and skill building, the mindset of progress over perfection fosters creativity and resilience. Students who are allowed to fail and try again develop deeper understanding and confidence. Perfection, in contrast, creates fear and pressure that often stifles innovation. True mastery is not about never making mistakes. It's about continuing to show up, learn, and get better over time. In fitness, health, or any long-term goal, perfection is often the enemy of consistency. People give up when they can't follow a routine perfectly or when they slip up. But progress celebrates the fact that you showed up, that you made a better choice today than yesterday. It gives permission to continue rather than quit. A few imperfect days don't erase the effort. They are part of the journey. Progress focuses on who you are becoming rather than who you're supposed to be. It's about growth in character, mindset, and habits. It's about the small wins, waking up earlier, managing emotions better, being kinder, or setting healthier boundaries. These don't require perfection, but they demand intention. And with time, those intentions shape a new identity. In the workplace, the pressure to be perfect often leads to burnout and imposter syndrome. Employees may avoid taking initiative because they fear not doing things flawlessly. But organizations that prioritize progress encourage experimentation, feedback, and innovation. Teams that are allowed to grow, adjust, and iterate become far more productive and confident than those bound by unrealistic expectations. Perfection seeks validation. Progress seeks purpose. When we're chasing perfection, we often act for others, to be accepted, admired, or applauded. But when we're focused on progress, the drive becomes internal. It's about doing better because we care about our own growth, not someone else's praise. That shift makes the journey more meaningful and sustainable. Progress builds momentum. Each step forward, no matter how imperfect, reinforces a sense of achievement and possibility. It silences the inner critic and empowers the doer. And that momentum eventually turns into transformation. Slowly, steadily, and in a way that perfection never could.